for updates on sports stories across the globe, and today is going to be a big one. Aaron Akerojala brings us all the details, a summary of what happened at the Olympics and how Nigeria is coming back home without any single medal. Aaron, good morning, bonjour, good to see you today.
All right, bonjour, I must actually say to you, Ayo, bonjour to Vimbai, bonjour to Rufai, and finally it's over. But I'm here at an iconic venue, the Triumph Arc behind me. It's a celebration of sports, talking about the Paris 2024 Games, and it's a triumph for sports. Well, we cannot say the same of Nigeria. Well, yesterday at the Stade de France, packed to the rafters, I must actually say, the venue hosted some of the most colorful closing ceremonies in this particular era, and it was a mix and match of both style, artistic display, and more importantly, a taste of what to expect in LA 2028 as Hollywood came out in style to grace that particular venue. And of course, Tom Cruise doing his own thing and actually shutting down the stadium and literally taking the Olympic flag from Paris to LA in a matter of minutes. It only happens in Hollywood, and Hollywood knows how to make things happen. But moving away from the closing ceremony and all that happened, we're looking at the medal table at the moment. Team USA are once again top of the totem pole, thanks to that 1-point victory in basketball for the women, bringing it home and edging Team China with 126 medals in total, 40 of which were gold, 44 silver, and 42 bronze. Team China coming in second, with Japan coming in third, Australia fourth, France doing fantastically well, I must say. Their largest medal haul at an Olympics, coming in fifth, the Netherlands sixth, and so on and so forth. But while we are talking about this, it's rather unfortunate that Team Nigeria failed to register a single medal at the Paris 2024 Games. Shameful, disgraceful, and I must actually say, our tails between our legs at the moment. It's heart-wrenching because when you look at the Nigerian contingent, 88 athletes in over 20 sports went to the Olympics, and most of those athletes, when you put it into perspective, 63 were women, 25 were men. We were expecting at least 2, 3, 4, 5 medals, but that wasn't meant to be. Because if we're looking at the Paris 2024 in numbers, 88 athletes were at the Games. They participated in 12 different sports. The allocated funds for the Paris 2024 Olympics, it was 9 billion, all spent. And the return on investment is zero, because 3 billion has been bequeathed for the Paralympics. I'll be starting off in 2 weeks' time. Then when you look at the medal table, zero. The last time this happened was London 2012, and we've not really improved when you look back at all that has happened, because Rio 2016 only came back with the bronze, and in Tokyo 2020 we got a bronze and a silver. The truth is this: none of those games are very different from this, but this is a new low for Nigerian sports and a soul-searching moment for those administrators, because if we were to look at the top 5 reasons, having spoken, liaised, witnessed, observed all that happened at the Paris 2024 Games, I came down to 5 conclusions, of which number one of the reasons why we failed was because of weak and substandard preparation. The truth is this: coming into the Olympics, a lot of people questioned the level of commitment and the level of competition, because the Olympics is the holy grail of sports. This is where you mix with the very best of the best when it comes to sports. Did that play out in terms of our preparation and in terms of our psychological build for this Olympics? The answer is no. Hence, no medals. When you look at it also, most of our top athletes, Ese Brume, Gotsin Brume, almost forgetting, also Blessing Oborodudu, and a number of athletes were injured. The question was this. They knew these things going into the Olympics. What did the Ministry of Sports do about this? What did the Nigerian Olympic Committee do about this particular crisis? And we are complaining that we didn't win any medals. Is there any surprise? Moving away from that, lack of synergy between sports administrators, because if you look at it closely, they were bickering and fighting between the Nigerian Olympic Committee and the Ministry of Sports Development. The truth was this: the Olympic Committee were grumbling that they have been sidelined. They have been the one crowning this particular Olympic program for years. The ministry comes in with new men in the ministry, with the Minister of Youth and Minister of Sports Development, Senator John Onwa-Eno, and probably the people in the ministry decided that no, we do not need the Nigerian Olympic Committee as much as we think. Hence, they decided to do things alone. Send athletes to Germany for training without sending the Nigerian Olympic Committee contingent to represent them fully. They also complained about funding. The breakdown between the federations, the Nigerian Olympic Committee, and the Ministry of Sports helped in this show of shame, I must say. And fourthly, poor funding. You cannot be funding athletes 1 month, 2 months before the games, when other federations, when other countries are funding athletes for 4, 5, 6 years, and you expect to win a medal. We don't carry ourselves like a nation that means business or that understands the sport. But you keep acting like we're surprised anytime things like this do happen. And finally, the weak program for athletes. The truth is this: how much funding goes into very specific programs. We speak about Tobago, we speak about the Kenyans. They have program for their athletes that runs into years and decades. We cannot say the same of Nigeria. It is unfortunate that it is when the Olympic is coming, the cycle of the Olympic is coming, 2, 3, 4, 5 months, we start talking about the Olympic, we start speaking about funding for the Olympics, only to get, people were paid training grants when the Olympic was already going on, for training grants that should be disbursed probably a year, 2 years ago. Training grants were paid in the Olympics, and you expect these athletes to go out and do something? It has been a show of shame, catastrophe, cataclysm. You can use all the adjectives to describe it, and you will not still scratch the surface.
Aaron, please, you can use all the adjectives. Aaron, you see, the most important question we should ask is, who is listening? We've talked about Seoul Olympics. We've talked about London Olympics. But it looks as though nobody will listen. Is this not the same show of shame we had before Tokyo? Only we were saved because we had a silver and we had bronze. Till today, as we speak, don't you have some of the kits for the athletes still in Tokyo, Japan? It wasn't it in Tokyo that our athletes were washing with their hands their own kits? After that show of shame, Annette decided to port to America. You know, when Annette was with Nigeria, things didn't work out for her. But all of a sudden, Annette established in America, and she had silver. So, Aaron, let me shock you. It will happen again. Nigeria is not serious. We are not ready. We are not ready. It's going to happen again. You can bet me on it. Probably what will only happen in 2028.
I believe.
What will only happen in 2028 that we will win silver, or we might be lucky to win 1 gold. We will celebrate again and move on. It will happen again. Aaron, 88 Seoul Olympics, we complained. 36 years after, all the things we complained about in Seoul is still happening today. It will happen again and again and again and again. You know why? Culture will eat strategy for breakfast. We have a bad I don't care culture where people are so selfish and it's about themselves, not about the national pride. So all of this, we are just wasting saliva. Good morning.
All right, so let me, I agree with both of you, but a bit of hope, and this is what a lot of Nigerians rely on, hope, hope, hope. And that's why Aaron, despite the fact that we knew when we were going into this competition that we're not ready, we're still hopeful that we're going to get medals. You cannot plant a corn and don't water, don't look at anything about it and expect to come back in a few weeks' time to see a good harvest. It's folly. It is faith, it is hope that's founded on nothing. So I don't know, maybe our disappointment is too elaborate for having known, since we knew that we didn't quite prepare for this. But going forward, I quite liked the statement made by the Minister of Sports. Say what you will, he came out to say that, I'm almost apologetic to say that he just come into this office and he had a number of big tournaments, number of big competitions to oversee. And his commitment is almost, let's give him the benefit of the doubt that if we can get leadership right, all these things you're saying, Aaron, is what has bedeviled a number of things in Nigeria around the fact that there's poor management, lack of accountability, lack of strong leadership, and so a lot of things not going quite, simple things that could make a big difference. So I'm hoping, again, that word hope, as a Nigerian that I am, that his tenure would be better than previous tenures. And I'm glad that we're going to be having a conversation with an Olympic gold medalist and a sports journalist in the show in a few minutes to talk about what the problems are. Because we can continue to talk, but if we don't have the right leadership to take forward these recommendations, these complaints, nothing will happen. In 4 years' time, we'll come back, hope against hope, go to another competition, waste a lot of money knowing that we're not coming back with anything, and then come back after the end of the competition to lament and complain like this. We have to fix the structure. We have to get leadership right. If we don't get it right, we'll continue to complain and going to see bad results across not just sports, but different areas of the nation.
Yeah. I want to echo.
Quickly, let me just address this thing quickly. Let me just quickly address this thing. I must say this here. I feel for Senator John Owai, because he's been thrown into a shark-infested water, and that is the sporting ecosystem. And when you look at it closely, the truth is this: I feel for him because before now, I don't think he had a whiff of idea what it took to actually run a sporting federation.
So why did they give him the position?
Of a Ministry of Sport.
Well, Aaron, so why did they make him Minister of Sport if he didn't understand the ministry?
That is the modus operandi of the federal government of Nigeria. We have to date back to decades, 2, 3, 4 decades before we had people that understood sports, administering sports in Nigeria. But at the same time, the only place I fault the Ministry of Sport is that the Nigerian Olympic Committee have one sole purpose, and that is to administer the Olympics. If they were not properly, or if they didn't work in synergy and in unison, then there will be a problem. And that is what happened, and that is what manifested here as destiny.
Now, very quickly, what I'd wanted to say is that, I'm trying to echo, just trying to be optimistic and positive about this situation. And I want to use patriotism as my anchor. Because what happens when, imagine a system in Nigeria where the politicians, the public office holders, the administrators love their country more than any self-interest. Just imagine a country where we love Nigeria so much that we want to make sure every single possible eventuality is taken care of to ensure that on the world stage, Nigeria always shines. And I think for me, that's the message. When you look at, and of course, we can always argue and say they have the support, they have the foundation, they have the structures, they have the training and so forth. But when you look at some of the teams, when they come there, it's no longer about anything else. It's just about country. And I'm not really just talking about the athletes. I'm talking about the administrators. I'm talking about the facilitators. Because for them, their country, their pride, their national pride is at stake. You see how some people fight this thing ferociously like their lives are about to end if they don't get it. And for me, it's just a plea to say, how can we go back to putting Nigeria first and to loving our country more than anything else so that we ensure that at these, once every 4 years, that at these occasions, AFCON, World Cup, the global stages, that we put our best forward and we show the world that truly this is the best that we have and we've invested in the best and they're going to shine because our nation's pride depends on it. For me, it's just a plea for patriotism. That's really it. Because when you look at it, I just don't understand how you would take such a delicate issue of national interest and make it about yourself. It's ridiculous. And I share your frustration, Aaron. I know you've been there with the athletes. So you really feel, you know where the shoe pinches. And you know, I guess we just have to continue to try and hold people accountable, have these conversations, more of them, unashamedly so, shake the table, scatter the table until something gives.
All right, thank you guys so much, Vimba.
All right, my final...
Okay, Aaron, go ahead.
I just want... My final word on this Paris 2024 games, there were silver linings in the dark cloud, like the Day Tigers team posting their best ever outing for the African team. Of course, some athletes around season burst. But the truth is this. When we still dabble in mediocrity because of nepotism, because of self-aggrandizement, and other vices being put into the mix. And when the federal government still insists that sports in the 21st century is more recreation and an opportunity to probably settle political debts to people that have worked for the president, we will never make it in sport. Unfortunately, the reform starts from the president doing what he would do to the Ministry of Health and not bring a farmer to become the health minister. The president will start by saying not doing what he will not do to the Ministry of Finance. Bring a sportsman to head the Ministry of Finance. When the president decides that he needs to put sportsmen, NFOC is in Saudi Arabia right now. Why don't we have sportsmen in Nigeria? Sebastian Coe is an Olympian. Thomas Bach, the IOC president, they kept on saying it yesterday. He won the fencing gold in 1976 Olympics. They didn't bring someone out of the blue to head the International Olympic Committee. When you look at sports globally, it's only in Nigeria that you see a carpenter being put as the Minister of Sports and you expect to get medals instead of metals. It's unfortunate.
Very sad.
And that is where I ended up.
And speaking of Sebastian Coe, I think he's indicated he wants to run the IOC as an Olympian himself. See, that's what we're saying here. But while we speak here, we have the likes of our brother Obong going to work for Saudi Arabia because we don't keep our own talent.